published about books. And today with me to present this program is
B-Blast Chidi, popularly known as BB.
Okay, the person before us today is Bayo Akinloye. Mr. Bayo Akinloye is the director, Global Talent Solutions, and co-partner in ASA Talent and Succession Management Solutions. Welcome, Mr. Bayo.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
Okay, and the book we have for review today is Talent Management Agenda in a Post-COVID-19 World, a practical talent and succession management guide for professionals, executives, and business leaders. We all know what we went through COVID. What a pandemic that almost put a full stop to progression in the world. And this gentleman has done something that's just putting positivity into a negativity. That's what I would describe this book. Okay, can we meet Mr. Bayo?
Thank you.
Who are you, sir?
Thank you very much. As you mentioned, Bayo Akinloye is my name.
Yeah.
I'm a human resources professional with more than 2 decades of experience. And I've worked across different sectors. I've moved across different organizations. I've worked within Nigeria, and also I've worked outside of Nigeria. In terms of qualifications, I studied management sciences from the University of Jos, after which I proceeded to Cranfield School of Management in the UK, where I studied international human resource management. After that, I studied psychology of work at the University of Leicester, and I'm also part of different professional associations, and I work with various organizations in terms of helping them with their talent succession management processes, and also, looking after the human capital, which is one of the most critical when we look at it in terms of competitive value that organizations are looking forward to deriving in terms of their businesses. So I work across different frontiers, and as I deploy solutions and as I support organizations within the human resources management and particularly talent succession processes.
Which means you are in what could be referred at a soft skill expert.
Definitely. Because when you look at talent management, this relates to the human capital. And as entrepreneurs and as business leaders, you could acquire different things. You could acquire machineries, you could acquire equipment and different things. But the only thing that makes the difference is the talent, the individuals that you are using to actually achieve the goals, the organizational goals. That is the value that I bring to organizations, to actually help them to maximize the value, within the context of the goals they are ready to deliver vis-a-vis the individuals within the organization.
You're talking about building a teamwork.
Definitely is part of it. When you look at it from the teamwork approach, there's something I also do which relates to psychological process, because when you try to evaluate individuals in terms of their maybe interpersonal skills, relationship skills, and if their jobs involve relating in teams, you want to be able to understand that this individual is able to deliver within the context of the role or the job that this individual is hired to do. That's part of the value that I bring to organizations.
Okay, sir. In hiring, what are the most critical things that you look out for?
Okay, that's very interesting. In hiring, first and foremost, you want to make sure you hire the right individual for the right role. It's important for you to define the role that you actually want to hire for. What is the objective? What are those things that you expect this role to deliver on? Because we always say that every role has a purpose. And we look at, from the organizational design point of view, you want to make sure you have roles that support the strategic objectives of the organization. So you must be able to define the objectives of the organization. You must be able to define the objectives of the role. Then you now look for an individual who is able to match, meet the expected complexity of that role, in terms of the capability and the skills that the individual is bringing on board. Then you're able to get the right fit for that role.
Okay, sir, but what is the most important skill in hiring?
The most important skill you need in hiring. Okay, if you look at it from the point of the person who is hiring, the most important skill is to be able to identify the best fit for a particular role. Having that experience and having the the value-based tool to be able to have conversations and be able to identify the right individual who is able to deliver on the role. And I must say, at times when you're trying to hire, you realize that it may not be the topmost individual that will deliver the best value, because of other things that you bring into perspective, depending on the organizational context and the environment. So as a hiring individual, as a professional, you must be able to understand what is the best fit for this particular purpose and this context.
Okay, so there are this assertion that leaders don't look for the best people, rather they look for the right people. Do you agree with it?
Yes.
That they don't look for the best people, rather they look for the right people.
I agree with you. You might have an individual who, like I mentioned just a while ago, this individual might be, on the face value of it, might look as if it's the best in terms of qualifications, in terms of other things. But beyond that, it's just like an iceberg situation. That is where the professionalism is very, very key in making the hiring decision. You might have the best individual in terms of qualification, but when you match this individual to the context of the organization that this individual is coming into, culturally, you realize that this person may not be fit for purpose, may be fit for other organizations, but what we are looking for right now, you just want to get, the right individual with the right approach, with the right attitude, with the willingness to actually, add value to the system, and also learn, which is one of the things that we're focusing on in this current dispensation. We call it openness to learn. An individual who is willing, regardless of what you are coming with or where you are coming from, you are open to, learning from people around you. You don't want individual who feels that, I know everything.
I know it all.
I know it all. So, and the individual comes in, and even if this individual is going to be a leader within the organization with responsibilities over people, you need to be sure that you get it right.
Okay, so as an HR expert, hard work and integrity, which one do you think should come first?
Hard work and integrity.
Yes.
I think I'll go for integrity. I'll go for integrity, because no matter what, you can be working hard. These days we say you have to work smart. We've got people who you see them, they're working so hard. It's just like a treadmill analogy. Yeah. Somebody is just moving, sweating, and by the time you say, okay, can you show me what you have achieved? It's just motion, no movement.
Okay.
So integrity is very key. When you promise you're going to deliver A, at this time, you deliver on that. Your word is your bond.
Which means there's a very big difference between productivity and being busy.
Yes. That is why it is quite interesting. With my experience, both within and outside the country, you begin to look at different things within the context of different culture and with different individuals. So you get an individual on board, you see this individual busy from 8 a.m. to maybe 4:30, 5 p.m. And eventually, when you ask this individual, please, can I have what I've assigned you to do? Some will keep telling you, oh no, don't worry, I'm still working on it, I'm still working on it. Whereas, even by the time this individual will give you what he or she has worked on, you could hardly make any, usefulness out of it. So you want an individual who understands that, okay, if we agree that we're going to deliver XYZ, it is important. And, just like you asked me previously that in terms of making the best hiring decision and all of that. And that is why, being accountable for result is also very important, because that also ties into your integrity as an individual, which is something we don't joke with at all when we look at all of this within the talent management value chain.
Okay, let's get back to your book. What really inspired the writing of this book?
Okay.
Talent management agenda in a post-COVID-19 world.
Okay.
What inspired it?
Thank you very much. Just like I said during my introduction, I have worked with different organizations at different levels, and I realized that at this stage of my career, one of the things that I could leave as a legacy, or I could use as value add to the body of knowledge, is to actually begin to translate this experience into these ideas into what people could just get a hold of and learn from that, read through it. That is why my approach to writing books, because the one we're discussing is actually the first book, there's another one. My approach is, regardless of who you are as a professional, whether you're a business leader or you're an executive or you're not even an HR individual, when you pick my book, you should be able to learn from it, because we're talking about people, human capital, talent management, which cuts across every spheres of life. So for me, the inspiration is from, sharing from my wealth of experience, making sure, I've been able to document things such that when even up and coming individuals, they pick these resources, they are able to get a whole lot from it, even from the perspective of executives who are at the top and, managing their businesses and finding a way to actually get things done. I believe that from the experiences, that is why in some part of the book, you see that I've also included some, real life scenario where people can just, get a hold of these stories and begin to say, how will this apply to our context? How will this apply to organization? How will this apply to what we are planning to do as an organization? So for me, those are the kind of things that inspired me. Each time I just want to write, I just want to share, I want to train, I want to teach. So that is it.
That's what inspired. But why the title post-COVID-19 world?
Okay, that's quite interesting. I don't want us to forget 2020 in a hurry. And I was quite happy because before COVID, I started to put together sort of diary, just putting together my experience, trying to put some points together. And, I actually started writing the book before COVID, came on board. But I plan to release the book in April 2020. So I started writing formally maybe Q4 2019. So good enough, while I was writing, COVID came. The lockdown came. So I now looked at the title and realized that many of the things that I was writing on, they are things that with the advent of COVID, I could actually relate to this event, the pandemic event, and which was why I decided to write the second version of the book. So I wanted it to be something that even professionals within the human resource management, because I will tell you, the experience that we went through during COVID, there were a whole lot of, people were laid off, the people lost their jobs, the people who were just at home, they were just, they didn't know what next. People had, job security issues, many businesses folded up. So I think for me, managing talent, understanding this in the context of what we went through, was quite instrumental in getting the topic right for the book.
But some people still made money during COVID. At least over 500 billionaires were added during COVID. Do you agree with me?
Definitely. For me, I looked at COVID from a very positive standpoint. Even though at that point, I had quite a number of organizations that I was consulting for, and you know that when you look at a situation, it depends on how your perspective towards that situation.
Yeah.
You could look at it from the negative standpoint, or you could look at it from the positive standpoint. And for me, when you said people made money, I think also for me to have been able to adapt my title to it was taking advantage of the situation as well, which for me was a good way to look at things. Many people even advanced their careers during COVID. And if I say to you now, there's something we talk about in terms of multiplicity of skills and people being able to handle multiple roles at different times. There are people, as I talk to you now, if not for COVID, they will not be having the kind of jobs that they're having now. Positively. Or the skills. There are people who are based in Nigeria at the moment who are working for global organizations without leaving the shores of this country.
Sure.
And these are fantastic jobs. And those are opportunities that people have taken advantage of. So for me, that is just it.
Okay, sir. In writing this book, what challenges did you encounter?
Yeah, I think the number one challenge was being able to put all the thoughts together in a very concise manner and in a way that everyone, whether you're an HR individual or non-HR individual or business leader, you are able to pick it and read it. Even though it was almost like a functionally tilted kind of title or book, but I can bet you if you pick this book now, you find it difficult to drop it because there are relevant instances that I've cited. So for me, I look at it from that point of view. In terms of challenge, the challenge is, okay, how do you make it such that it cuts across all spheres? So even after I've finished writing, you will read over it again, remove, add, but you must tell yourself at some point that, okay, it's time to move on.
That's a vision.
Yes. So that, I think for me, that was the topmost.
Okay, as an HR and an author now, what makes a good book?
What makes a good book? What makes a good book is any individual picks the book, there's a value that is being derived from it. The value add, for me, is you cannot be you cannot be overemphasized because you have a reason for reading something, and your interest may be different from my interest. So what makes a good book? I pick it, and I say, okay, if not for this book, I wouldn't have been able to get, even if it's just one thing. For me, that's the way I would define a good book.
Okay, we'll go on break and we'll come back in a short while.
Welcome to my world.
This is the station that gives you a voice.
How can you be jubilating when judgment has not been given? Meaning that you are bribing the judiciary.
See a lot of young Nigerians who are leaving the country in droves. They are running away to escape poverty.
Now, looking at this issue, and I think Nigerians should rise.
Many families and properties have been destroyed. Accountability is one of the things that is lacking in governance in this country.
Speak with no hindrance.
Chapter 4, Section 39 of the Nigerian Constitution, right to freedom of expression and press, states, every person shall be entitled to the freedom of expression, including freedom to hold opinions and to receive and impart ideas and information without interfering.
Now you have a voice. Voice of the people, 90.3 FM.
There comes a time in the affairs of man when the voice of the people stands unique, constantly challenging society's status quo.
90.3.
great place of learning. It could be your school on radio. It could be your life on radio. We are VOP, Voice of the People.
Number one.
Your station has just been upgraded.
This is your number one radio station.
The best radio station to listen to this year is right here.
Oh, you guys should kill me. VOP 90.3 FM.
The voice of the people. We are the station that hears.
This is the one.
We are VOP, Voice of the People, 90.3.
This is the station that gives you a voice.
How can you be jubilating when judgment has not been given? Meaning that you are bribing the judiciary.
You see a lot of young Nigerians who are leaving the country in droves. They are running away to escape poverty.
Now, looking at this issue, and I think Nigerians should rise.
Many families and poverty have been destroyed. Accountability is one of the things that is lacking in governance in this country.
Speak with no hindrance.
Chapter 4, Section 39 of the Nigerian Constitution, right to freedom of expression and press, states, every person shall be entitled to the freedom of expression, including freedom to hold opinions and to receive and impart ideas and information without interference.
Now you have a voice. Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. Let me tell you something about the pages. The more you read, the more things you'll know. The more you learn, the more places you'll go. And don't also forget that good readers are good leaders. Make it a date with Peter Anosike, Nigeria's best finance book author, as he flips the pages. Every Saturday, 4 to 5 p.m. on Voice of the People, 90.3 FM. The pages. If you don't like to read, maybe you haven't found the right book. Let's flip the pages.
All right, welcome back. This evening, we are looking at the book Talent Management Agenda in a Post-COVID-19 World. And we are talking about Bayo Akinloye's book, because the book is authored by Bayo Akinloye. And for some of us who do not know who Bayo Akinloye is, he is a global talent succession professional with over 2 decades of HR practice and consulting experience. He specializes in all phases of strong internal talent, bench strength, and organizational development strategy, identifying employee development gaps, identifying talent succession needs and goals, metrics, processes, and tools, training and development to build internal capacity, creating talent succession communication plans for business leaders, facilitating talent review meetings, coaching others for performance, creating high potential and leadership development programs, designing assessment and development center, competency framework, and performance management and graduate development program to meet specific organizational needs. He leads the discussion, diagnosis, recommendation, and delivery of solutions across the talent management value chain. And that is the person we're talking about this afternoon. Welcome back, Peter Anosike and Adebayo.
Yeah, you have heard who Mr. Adebayo is. He is the author of this wonderful book. And as it is in our tradition, every Saturday we ask a question, and who gets the correct answer wins a copy of the book. So right now, I'm going to ask a question. The other time, Wisdom Ondawatoyin from Ogun State won the book by Deborah David, Walk Easy. My question this time around is, how many hours of talking can give you 200-page book? I repeat, how many hours of talking can give you 200-page book. If you know the answer, call us and you win a copy of this wonderful book. So, Mr. Adebayo, that's what I saw here in your final thoughts. Managing succession and talent investment in family and owner-managed businesses. You know, and there's this view that wealth doesn't go beyond the third generation. What they call the short-lived courses. Understand? That wealth doesn't go beyond the third generation. So, how can you that's constructed with this managing succession and talent investment in families?
Thank you very much. You know, that's a very interesting dimension, and I included this in one of the chapters because I've worked with owner-manager organizations, and I've worked in you know, organizations that are family businesses, and some of them have gone beyond the third generation. And,
in Nigeria?
Specifically, this particular one that I'm referring to is not in Nigeria, but okay. I've worked with some in Nigeria that I would say maybe going to second generation now.
We are talking of going beyond third generation.
Yes, it's very difficult.
Why?
I don't know. I think we are all trying to understand the why. You know, because I don't want to start making particular reference because while I was writing this book, I was also doing a bit of research in with some organizations in the Arab world. And if you look at it, many organizations there, family businesses, 60 years, 65 years, they've moved from one generation to the other. And you see that seamlessly, they're building their organizations, they're expanding, and they still continue to maintain this, you know, regional presence. So for me...
But why don't we have such in Nigeria?
Honestly, I'm still... Maybe it's part of the things that I'm still trying to look into, because I would say that at least I've worked with two businesses that are, you know, family businesses in Nigeria, and I'm still doing with some of them. So I think we continue to look at what exactly was the motive for setting up the business. And when you are handing over, what sort of legacy did you leave? What sort of structure? You understand? When you're setting it up, did you set it up with the intention of this business actually, you know, moving beyond you as an individual? So, and that also ties, that's why my focus on talent succession, honestly, is a passion. So, because you want to see organizations that you will say, oh, it was my forefathers that started it. And because if you go to some developed world, you see even some places, it could be chicken and chips. You say, oh, it was the third or fourth generation that started this business. And it still continues to grow.
Yes, I know that CNN used to run companies that are 100 years old and more.
Yeah.
But they have never mentioned any company in Africa.
That's quite an interesting challenge.
And I know that there's in Tokyo, Japan, there's a restaurant that is 1,300 years.
And it's still ongoing, a family business.
1,300 years, family business.
Yes.
So what is that with Africa?
Yeah, I think, like I mentioned, it's about the intention for setting up the goal, the organization rather, and also while you set up the organization, are you open to putting in structures? I don't want to say, I don't want to be very particular by saying that, okay, maybe from this part of the world that we come from, you just want to be the all and all. You don't want to give off authority. And one of the things that I mentioned here is that, okay, giving off authority, even at certain point, you know, when you want the business to continue to be in the hands of others, people you can trust, maybe that can be a challenge. And if you look at one of the things that I mentioned, I was actually having a chat with a business owner, and not in Nigeria. He's still the MD of this business, and the business has moved into the third generation now. So I was curious to ask him. You understand? And when you look at one of the pages, I was asking him,
what's the secret?
Should we consider trust and loyalty as a key criteria for succession in family-owned businesses? Because, when you're trying to talk about, okay, we need to put in place talent succession process, we need to identify the right person and all of that. When I was doing this project, I was curious to meet with this managing director and ask him, what is the place of trust? What is the place of loyalty? What is the place of skill? Remember you asked me at the beginning,
yes,
in terms of, okay, we're talking about the best individual.
Yes.
Are you talking about integrity? And this managing director told me point blank. He said, in family businesses, loyalty is very key. You understand? Trust. Because, it depends on the culture also. There are cultures that, we want to continue to be relevant. It may not all be about profit. We may not be the number one company, but we are relevant to the society. We are relevant to the existence of the region or the country. So whoever is going to take over or is going to be charged with responsibilities in this company must have that understanding. And that is why you see that at some point they will not even hold back from saying, okay, I think I've done my bit. Let me hand it over to some people to carry on, and they will be providing advice from the background. So from me, I think that's just my view. I hope we'll get there in Nigeria and we'll begin to make references to, family-owned businesses that have, moved beyond, first, second, third generation. That would be a good thing to see.
So are you now seeing this thing being behind it? Because just like Amazon, Jeff Bezos founded Amazon, but it has less than 17% share.
Yeah.
But in Nigeria, you see somebody that owns, that's the desire to own 100% of everything.
Yeah.
Understand?
Yeah.
So don't you see this maybe as a kind of, it could be a managerial problem?
Yes, definitely. It could be it. Like, people will say, I want to have it all. And also maybe it boils down to this issue of trust, because I was looking at it from the point of delegation of authority, and allowing autonomy to prevail, which is always a challenge at times. If you have ever interacted or worked in a family business or owner manager managed business, you will realize that at times it becomes difficult for you to even be on the same page with the owner who is also managing the business to actually, give us certain authority or allow certain individuals to take decisions. So, and just like you made reference to, if an individual who owns the business is even owning less than 50% of the share, so that means the individual is willing to give up certain things, for the business to continue to move on. So maybe we can look at it from that perspective as well.
Okay, sir. Do you believe that somebody is born to do a thing?
That somebody is born to do a thing?
Yes.
I will look at it from two angles. Born to do a thing because it aligns with your passion and you're doing it, or is imposed on you. So, because we've seen instances where,
No, some, just like saying that this is a born manager, is a born leader, whatever.
Oh, it's a born leader, it's a born manager.
Yes.
For me, I'm not subscribing fully to that. In terms of, you're a born leader. There's so many things that account for being a leader, and beyond that, being a successful leader. You understand? If you try a leader in the context of, for example, Africa, and this leader is successful, would this same leader be successful in Asia? Would this leader be successful in other parts of the world? So that can be contextualized. You understand? For the fact that some people have some sort of advantages over others, that can be an influence. Some people started early. Some people, They were able to learn early. They were able to adjust. They were able to adapt. And this is one of the things that we don't take for granted when we do, psychological assessments. You do some assessments to actually understand the personality of the individual, the preferences, the motives, what motivates this individual. So that is the way I will look at that particular discussion.
Okay, let's get back to your book. Who is it meant for?
Yes, this book is meant for all professionals, regardless of your level, regardless of your industry. It is meant for all executives. It's meant for all business leaders. If you want to actually deliver value, if you want to see your businesses going into generations, if you want to make the best of individuals that you have, delivering your organizational goals, then I think you should get a hold of this book. And if you're someone who is also thinking of a career in human resources or adding value to whichever organization that you want to support, then you should get this book.
Okay. What comes first if you want to do well in business? Is it knowledge or money?
I'll tell you, I think it's knowledge.
But over here, I don't have money that is
no. I think enlightened individuals will tell you money will chase ideas. You understand? If you're talking about, if you don't have the knowledge, for example, putting this book together, we're talking about the book now.
Yes, sure.
You understand? If I was looking at the monetary side to publish this book, maybe by now we'll not be talking about this book. But like I believe, and I believe firmly, regardless of it, money will chase a good idea anytime, any day.
Okay. About, we read that between 2015 and 2022, that over 350 companies went under in Nigeria. What do you think should be the cause?
Between 2015
and 2022.
22. Okay,
last year.
Into COVID era. I think I also I had some clients then that by now some of them have gone into that same condition that they have just described. There are several things that could be responsible for that. If you look at the situation, the challenge that we're all faced with, particularly you are making reference to Nigeria now.
Nigeria, sure.
In some instances, some businesses rely heavily on cash flow. And you realize, particularly during COVID era, many people suffer that cash flow problem. On the other hand, a lot of businesses will rely on competent hands. And you realize that if you're not able to have the competent hand to be able to drive this vision, it becomes a problem. Many could have suffered in that kind of situation. Again, you look at it from the point of maybe lack of clarity in terms of the vision or the goal that was responsible for setting up the business itself. And again, we mentioned something around integrity and being able to follow through on what you have, what you set up your business to achieve. Some people, you have this maybe little funds. Instead of using it for the right cause, you realize that you move it to something else. And once you start moving on that trajectory, it becomes difficult at times to come back to the line, to the course that you started with. So a whole lot of things could be responsible depending on the organization. If you're able to see the organization, you say, okay, this must be the reason why this one went on. So it's a whole lot of things that you just have to look into and say, okay, for this particular organization, it could be process issues, it could be policy issues, it could be, not even following through in terms of their visions and their objectives, and it could also be governance issues, which is very big in terms of discussion now.
Okay, that's you're talking about leadership.
Leadership, governance, doing what you are supposed to do within the context of, business operation and the law of the land. You understand? So those are some of the things that we could begin to hold on to in terms of affecting such businesses.
So there are this view that I can say that you are a human resources consultant. There are this view that Nigerian businessmen, that majority of them don't like making use of consultants. How do you see it?
Yeah, maybe that one maybe. For me, I will not buy into that fully, because every business leader or business owner is looking for someone that will actually add value to his business or a business. Even though it's difficult to give some things to some consultants because of the experience that some people have had. So when you justify the reason for you to be given A, and you've been able to deliver A excellently well, you'll be surprised that before you know it, A, B, C, and D will be added to you. However, every business owner, every business leader is looking forward to getting value for every money spent. That is the way it should be. So some people might struggle to get a job, or some people might, and it might also be based on, this trust that we mentioned. Because if you have experienced some people, they promised they were going to deliver XYZ with a certain amount of money and the resources given to them, but eventually they were not able to deliver it. So what will give me the assurance that when I see another consultant, I'm willing to put my resources into whatever it is that he or she is selling? So that can be reason for that kind of situation.
Okay. How many books have you written so far?
I've written 2 now. So I've written 2. There's another one that I wrote which was focused specifically on career and career transitions, how people can manage their careers. There are some of the things that we can begin to do to look at, even with the opportunities that have been put before us by COVID-19. We talk about people who have built compound skills, and people who have, like you said, multiplicity of skills, being able to do a whole lot of things, and some of the trends that we now know. So I just published that book in December 2022, yes. And I'm hoping that hopefully every 2 years I should be able to get something out relating to the trend and talent management, as it were.
Okay, going by the rate of unemployment in the country, next month we are going into a presidential election. As an agenda setter, what will you advise the next government on the area of economy with regard to unemployment?
With regards to unemployment?
Yes.
Okay. I think because I will limit it to the context of the unemployment, just like you said.
Just like growing the economy for the youth to get job, yes.
It's just about ensuring that people thrive at whatever level they decide to operate. We cannot all be graduates.
Sure.
We cannot all be working for, multinationals. And people are willing to set up companies, the artisans that are there, providing that enabling environment for capacity to grow. For me, is very, very important.
That's enabling environment.
The enabling environment for the human capital to thrive, and providing the support structure. You understand? The support structure from the point of, even at times, if you have been a business owner or an entrepreneur that is just starting small, you'll be surprised with some of the things that you'll be subjected to, from being faced with people from the tax point of view, from difficulty with infrastructure, from a whole lot of things that you have to contend with. So for me, providing that enabling structure, providing that the support structure for people to thrive, whatever they choose to do. You can be you could go to technical school and learn something. From there, you translate it into your passion, and you translate it into something that gives you that's your annual income or daily income or monthly income, and you move on with your life. So for me, that is very, very important.
So what advice do you have for the youths who have been writing applications for donkey years with no success?
My advice to the youth is that you can be writing the applications, but make every day count. Look inwards. What else can you do? What can you do with whether the skill that you currently have? What can you do with what is available within your environment? And you see, because I've been involved within the human capital space for some time, it's also quite unfortunate because you see, it gives some people an opportunity, like we talked about hiring. An individual who's been busy going around writing applications and all of that, and like we say, opportunity comes but once. You give this individual an opportunity, oh, can I interview you for this particular role? You realize that this substance is not there. You understand? And you see, you could make the best use of your time now, learn basic, Microsoft Office, be good at what you do, so that when the opportunity comes, then you are able to prove that you have value to add. Beyond that, you can also begin to think of, okay, what can I do with, maybe some other vocations? I can learn something and I can start small, and from there you can grow your passion. And it will surprise you. Let me throw you a shocker. You'll be surprised that even several years ago when I graduated, and I was looking for employment. An uncle of mine told me, and he said to me, you saw me, I was just sleeping at home, and I had passion for photography. This uncle of mine gave me a camera, that camera I can't forget, Pentax camera, a manual camera.
Yeah.
And from there, I went somewhere to learn how to use that Pentax camera to actually take photos. And before you knew it, months later, I started getting jobs. I will go to churches.
Yes.
I will during programs, I will get up. Take some pictures, and then you get back, put the pictures on CD, put music in the background, and within those period, I was fulfilled. I acquired tangible skill, which till today is still part of me. So you could do something. Take advantage of what is available and move on with your life.
So in page 4 of your book, you talk about talent segmentation. What does that mean?
Okay. So talent segmentation is what helps you to actually look at the mix of individuals that are critical to the success of your organization.
The needs.
Yes.
Of individuals.
Yes, you look at individuals within your organization, because organizations are based on what we call the levels of work.
Yes, organogram.
Yes, and roles are defined along that path.
Yeah.
And the levels of work also tie into what we call the complexities that are required for each of the stages. So you need to actually segment your workforce to be able to say, based on multiple levels and multiple layers, each individual will have different capabilities, because the objective is to be able to help individual. There's something we want everybody to be in a flow state. What does that mean? When we achieve some sort of congruence between the capability you understand of an individual and the complexity of the role of the job. So we want to achieve that kind of flow state. So when you do proper segmentation, it helps you to pitch the job at the right level.
Are you talking about multitasking?
It's not even multitasking.
Okay.
It's just being able to ensure that people are doing the job that fits within their capability. And when you want to even prepare them for transitional roles, you are able to do what we call focus development, because you've been able to segment them. You understand the gaps, you understand the capability, you understand the needs, even at the organizational level. So this fitting into the entire developmental process, within the organization. That is why segmentation is very key. It's one of the most critical when we talk about talent succession process.
Okay, which means it helps you to get the right talent for a particular job.
Definitely. It helps you to get the right talent. It helps you to also develop the right talent. It also helps you to build the right succession, because you don't want an individual to sit in a job forever. At some point, you want to move the individual. If the individual has what we call the potential to transition into something else, maybe you are expanding, or you want to give this individual an opportunity also to do something else. So you must build what we call a succession pipeline, so that you make sure that the pipeline is viable, such that you are mitigating what we call succession risk or vacancy risks. So that is why this is very critical.
Okay, so as an HR expert, collaboration and competition, which one is better in a company?
Collaboration.
Explain.
It's collaboration, definitely. And again, I always like to put things into context. If you work across culture in multiple countries, there are some organizations, there are some countries that the organization is defined around competition. In employees, you must be competitive. And even in the performance management process, that competitiveness is built into the reward structure. So you must be competitive. I want to make sure I do more than you. I want to do this and all of that. And in some instances, maybe it helps, the organization to achieve the goal.
Is it in a short or long term?
It may not. That's why I said we have to look at the organizational context. It may work for the organization for the long run. That's the
vision of the company.
Yes, for the long time, because I want everybody to be competitive.
Yes.
You understand? I have competitive evaluation system, and I reward you based on how competitive you are. So you must come in. I give you what to do. Everybody, you are moving. Then when you talk about collaboration, that is why, like we talk about coaching and development, providing support structure for individuals within the organization, so that you've given me a task to do now, I get to a point that I'm almost stranded or I'm confused, I can fall back to you, either as my line manager or my colleague, or even my subordinate, and ask you, could you please explain this to me? Can we collaborate? You understand? There's something we call reverse mentoring.
Yes.
Even your direct report can be of help to you. Will not give you some clues, and before you know it, you are moving again. But in an environment where it's seen as competition, even if you have come to me for guidance or advice, because I wouldn't want you to, outshine me or to be rewarded more than myself, I might even be holding information. And that's one of the things that we also see in some organizations. You see that the moment an individual is not there or is on leave, it's as good as everything is on hold. Somebody is on leave, you must call them every now and then, because it's either they have not handed over, or they're not willing to hand over, or in some instances
they could be afraid of losing their jobs.
You are protecting what you have now and must be seen to be relevant. So those are situations. But for me, collaborating helps you. It allows you to even be in flow with your job. You can, even if you're on leave, you can go on leave with the mindset that somebody else is carrying on. That is why, for me, talent management is a passion that I follow every day. And I look at it, when you have viable succession pipeline, when you build a robust organization, not around individuals, but around how people are able to deliver roles sustainably for the business. You understand? So if the buyer is not there tomorrow, definitely we have people that have been prepared, or they are going to be given opportunity to actually experience what it takes to deliver success on that role. So for me, that's the approach that I will adopt.
Mr. Bayo, unfortunately, our time is up. I'm enjoying this conversation. Even 24 hours wouldn't be enough. So I promise to invite you back sometime in the future.
It's my pleasure. Once I'm available within the country, it's always a pleasure to discuss along this line. Thank you for giving me this opportunity as well.
Thank you for coming.
I appreciate it.
Listeners, stay tuned with us by this time next week as we talk about books.
All right, that's how we'll come to the end of the pages this Saturday evening. Stay tuned and be blessed.
Are you aware that Iruka Online Limited installed and designed the 100,000 capacity church building? Oh yeah, we are the sole distributors of global leading brands all over the world, such as Wafday Line Array, speakers and digital amplifiers, Preseno's digital mixers and studio equipment, Coswell workstations and keyboards, Fender guitars, Mapex drums,